friends, I'm Carrie Jo, and this is Holy Chuckles Podcast, a space where all meets honesty and where God's gentle humor shows up in the people he chooses. So pull up a seat, take a breath, and let's look together for the sacred in the everyday and the quiet laughter of a God who delights in working through our imperfect stories. Welcome back to Holy Chuckles. Today's episode, Two Souls, One Conversation with God. I was going to go on with 1 Samuel and how I've been doing the verses and what I've been doing. God said, no, I need you to circle back. I need you to circle back to 1 Samuel 1:17 through 18. And I was like, yeah, God, but I want to go forward. And God's like, no, I need you to circle back. Because God wanted me to talk about breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs from God are so important to me because they let me know I'm moving in the right direction. But sometimes I'm a little dense and I don't pick them up. But I've been better at it. I've been better at the breadcrumbs. I've been better at the signs. I've been better about being still, being present, being quiet, and listening to what God is trying to show me rather than what I want to see or what I want to do. I think the reason I know the reason God wanted me to circle back is because God is saying to you, I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to tell you things, but you're not stopping. You're not seeing. You're not listening. I need you to stop. I need you to know I am here. I need you to know I am present in your life and I am trying to tell you things, but you won't listen to me. You won't stop to hear what I'm trying to tell you. I'm following, I'm obeying, and I'm going back to verse 17 and 18 in 1 Samuel 1. Verse 17, Eli answered, go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant you what you have asked of him. Eli didn't command God to act. His word carried authority and affirmation that God listened to what Hannah was praying for. Verse 18, she said, may your servant find favor in your eyes. Then she went her way and ate something, and her face was no longer downcast. So she went on her way and she ate something, and she wasn't sad anymore. Eli helped her to change her outlook, her demeanor, her alignment. Eli said, God's going to grant you what you asked for. And Eli helped her to start living inside her blessing instead of just longing for it. Hannah's vibration changed, her outlook changed, her mindset changed. Eli didn't tell her God was going to grant her everything. Eli didn't say your miracle is going to happen or when your miracle is going to happen. Eli just gave her a breadcrumb from God that said, may the God of Israel grant you what you asked for. And she stayed in alignment with that. She stayed in agreement. Hannah took Eli's word as divine reassurance. Sometimes we need a reassurance. Sometimes we need a breadcrumb. Sometimes we need just confirmation that we're even just being heard. In our lives, God often sends confirmations, messages, or breadcrumbs through people we know, through strangers. For me, one of my strangers was the homeless man, David. And then after that, all the other strangers that I met throughout that day. Sometimes God sends messages through songs because sometimes we just can't stay quiet. And billboards, there have been many of times that I have had billboards saying something to me I didn't even know. For instance, I was driving along with a friend and we were talking about the shift in what's happening in humanity. And then we were talking about Holy Chuckles and what's been going on with Holy Chuckles. And we saw a billboard that said, Holy Shift. What? Holy Shift. I would have never noticed that before, but God used that to let me know I was going in the right direction. The signs are all around us. We just have to be open to them. I'm going to use this time not to go back to verses in First Samuel. I'll do that next episode, but it's really to talk to you about breadcrumbs, to ask you to open up your hearts, your mind, your thoughts, to stay quiet enough to hear the breadcrumbs that are coming to you from God. I want to tell you 2 stories that happened to me, and they happened just recently. Doesn't matter how positive I am, doesn't matter how joyful I am in my heart or even in my outward appearance. I am still sad that my marriage ended. I am sad that I do not have my best friend every single day. And the person that was for me wasn't. I'm not going to lie. Super sad about it. And it's okay to be sad. I go each day just putting one foot in front of the other, and that includes my sad days. And these last couple of weeks have been hard for me, have been really hard for me. We did our separation last December, or talked about our separation last December, and then moved forward with it in February of 2025, and then ended in divorce in the summer of 2025. So it's very fresh. It's very new. And although I can look within my heart and know this is what God required of me and asked of me, and I obeyed, it doesn't mean it doesn't make me sad. It doesn't mean my heart does not ache or my heart does not hurt. I'm human. The last couple of weeks, for some reason, have been very difficult for me. And I think more than anything, it's a release of letting what was go and not trying to hold on to it because of my abandonment issues and because of things that have happened to me in my life. I am a person that, tries to hold on as tight as I can or tries to control so the outcome is what I want. Flowing is not really in my vocabulary, but I'm learning to let things flow, and I'm learning to let things be as they are, as they should be. I was sitting at my desk one day and going through the Bible and talking to God, and I just had to tell God, I'm super sad. I had to be quiet. And God said, no, my love, you are mine. And there's no reason to be sad. I did this for a reason. And I know some of you are like, wow, how did he say that to you? How did God get that message to you? Partly it's a feeling. And secondly, I am a big music lover. I stopped listening to secular music a while back. It doesn't mean I don't remember the songs, doesn't mean every now and again I don't hear them when I'm out and about. But for the last couple of weeks, there's been one song looping in my head. Probably the last couple of weeks that I've been going through this. And it's Sweet Little Rainbows by Alan Stone. If you haven't listened to that song, go and listen to it. First of all, Alan Stone, amazing artist, just a heart full of love and grace. His songs are just so amazing, so loving, and they just carry the frequency of God in them. I knew when the song started looping in my head every day, and it was a lot of the day, it just like played in the background of my head. I knew it was a love song from God to me. This song was God's way of reassuring me that everything is okay and that he was singing love over me. God's language is not always words. Sometimes it's a color, it's a melody, a feeling. And when something replays in my head over and over, I know it's probably not coincidence. It's God's frequency, his love comforting me, finding me when I need it the most. And these last 2 weeks, I've really needed it. I'm going to go through some of the lyrics and just show you in a way how these songs sometimes are God's way of telling us something when we really need to hear it. This was one of my breadcrumbs reassuring me that everything's going to be okay. Some of the lyrics in this song is, every morning feels like rebirth. What a joy it is to fall into your presence. Bubbly clouds rest your essence on the sacred ground. So when I hear these lyrics, it's an invitation from God telling me, my beloved, even when you doubt, I'm renewing you. Fall into my presence. You don't have to have it all figured out. For me, that's very hard. I want to figure it out, and I want to figure it out quickly, and I want to move forward, and I want to go on the path that I'm supposed to go. But that's not God's plan. It's in God's timing. Let my spirit rest in you. You are sacred ground to me. God is telling me, let my spirit rest in you. You are loved. You are sacred. Just calm down a little bit. When my emotions start to make me doubt or question or make me think that I'm going the wrong way, this song is God whispering to me, I'm right here in the questions, in the beauty, in the color. I'm not mad at that you wonder or that you doubt. I'm rejoicing that you are listening. The next couple of verses is, I'm so in love with you. I fly above this view. Every energy's residue, especially purple, green, red, and blue. That's God singing to me, I love you. Isaiah 43, I have called you by name. You are mine. God saying, you are precious and honored in my sight, and I love you. I'm so in love with you. That's just God telling me he loves me. God saying, I'm not just loving you from a distance. I'm holding you from above. Even the smallest leftover pain, doubt, or fear, I'm washing it away. God is taking all of that sadness that I have from my marriage ending and just washing it away and telling me, daughter, don't worry. I got you. God is saying, with every color of my creation, because in the song he says, especially purple, green, red, and blue. God is saying, with every color of my creation, I've got you. Purple, crowned with spiritual dignity. Green, growing new life in me, not just for me, but in me. Red, my passion for you is eternal. God's passion for me is eternal. And blue, peace. Peace surrounds you. God's just telling me that peace is surrounding me. Then the song goes on, sweet little rainbows. Rainbows appear only after rain. That's what makes them divine. They are not a denial of the storm. They are God's answer to the storm. God's like, look what I made for you. God's saying, you survived this storm. Everything is going to be okay. I'm coloring your sky again. The next verse, fly through my window, bring your color into frame. God's coming through my window. He's coming through my life. He's coming through my awareness, not to disturb it, but to bring beauty where fear was, where fear of being alone, fear of, I lost my partner. I lost the person I thought I was going to spend my life with. I thought I found my one, and now I'm fearful of being alone. Will I be loved again? Can I be loved again? And God is just coming through saying, Don't worry about that, girl. I got you. Everything's going to be okay. And you are loved. You are loved by me. I am loved by God. You listening to this podcast, you are loved by God. A love song reaches inside you and it's intimate, not formal. It's God's love song to me saying, I love you. Don't worry about the rest of it. In my day of questioning, this song says, you are not lost. You are becoming new. You are not crazy for questioning these things. You are awakening. You are understanding. You are becoming aware of the things that are around you, of me inside you. You are still mine, and I'm coloring your soul with light. This song is God's love song to me, letting me know everything's okay. And even when I don't feel loved, even when I'm sad, this is God's way of telling me, I love you. You are not alone. You are okay. And things may not look great right now. And things may not be what you want them to be. But after this storm, there is going to be a rainbow. I promise. I am getting your rainbow ready for you. And I believe that. And I'm walking inside that blessing, knowing that God has my rainbow ready for me. My second breadcrumb came on 10/29. God was telling me that I had to circle back around in something that I had talked about in the previous episode. I was really questioning, is what I'm doing or the things that I'm speaking about, am I on the right path? Because when I started this podcast, I started out with trauma stories, my testimony, and thought trauma stories is the way that I was supposed to go, but soon realized that wasn't it. God had to redirect me. I talk about it in my pivot episode. And so sometimes I question myself, and sometimes I have a little doubt. I think that's human nature. And so on October 29th, I was having some doubt. Am I going the route you want me to go? Am I talking about the things that I need to talk about? I know the things that I'm discussing are things that have really helped me. The literal version of these verses in the Bible, the symbolic version, and then how it resonates with me. I go back and listen to them, and it really makes a difference in my life. Even though I'm the one talking about it, and even though I'm the one reading it, I go back and listen to it, and it really resonates with me, because sometimes when I'm doing these episodes, because I'm co-creating with God and the Holy Spirit is working in me and through me, sometimes I don't even realize some of the things that I say. So it's good for me to go back and listen to it, because I need these lessons too. I think with anything that we start in our lives, whether it be a relationship, a friendship, a new job, a hobby, education, we ask ourselves, am I doing the right thing? Am I going down the right path? On 10/29, I am writing out some things, and I really had to stop and ask God, hey, am I going the right direction? Am I doing the right thing? Is this where I'm supposed to go? I usually ask these questions out loud and sit for a minute, and I'm very ADHD. So sometimes my minute is really a second, and I'm like, God, you didn't answer. I start to move forward just with what I'm doing, because I figure forward movement is better than anything. Forward is better than backward. So after I questioned, I received a text a little bit later that morning, and it was a friend. And she said, my morning began at 4 a.m. and it was off to a rough start. I boarded my plane and listened to my favorite podcast and was at peace. Loved the episode, and the pivot was worth the wait. Because I had skipped a week and I was really trying to find my footing on where I was supposed to be going with this podcast, the pivot episode came out really explaining the route that I was going. For me, that text was my breadcrumb from God. God used a very good friend who I trust, who I adore, and who I love very much to give me these words of affirmation that I needed in that moment of my confusion, my uncertainty, my doubt. And I was so appreciative of that text. It lifted my spirits, it lifted my heart, and I had to stop that day and say, God, thank you. Thank you for using this special person in my life to come to me and let me know that, yes, this is good. A couple of days later, same friend sends me another text, and the text says, can you talk? I have a question for you about God. Can I talk? And a question about God? Of course, yes. I called her immediately. She told me about her day on 10/29 when she had sent me that first text. And remember, it said I had a rough start to the day. She owns her own business and it's fairly new. And she had to travel to a city where it's like, meh, city's okay, but it's not like somewhere I'd be like, yeah, I want to go there. In the middle of the night, when she was asleep, she heard people arguing in the room next to hers. She was kind of in and out of sleep because of that. She woke up the next morning and was a little bit discombobulated or just probably tired from the travel, the meetings. She was like, that was really weird. I had weird dreams. The people next to me sounded like they were in some kind of dispute. It was odd. She went and looked out her door and was like, well, that's weird. There's not really a room next to me that I should have heard anyone talking, arguing. She let it go and just moved forward with her day. When she went downstairs, she let the front office know, hey, people next to me were kind of having a dispute. You might want to check on them. The front desk said, well, why didn't you call last night? I don't know, lady, I was sleeping. I really wasn't thinking about calling on what was going on. She's sitting down, waiting for her Uber to pick her up. And all of a sudden, police started coming in. It wasn't just like one or two police. It was several of them were coming in at a time. One officer looked at her and said, hey, are you waiting for your ride? She's like, yeah. And he said, I think your Uber is parked outside. They just can't get here because of all the police cars that are here. She was not trying to figure out what was going on, what was happening. Was it pertaining to the room that was kind of next to hers, maybe not next to hers? Was it having to do with the people that were in the dispute? No, she booked it out of the hotel. She got into the Uber and this Uber said, oh man, what's going on? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. It's not our business. Let's move on. Let's get out of here. I need to get to the airport. She was not wanting to know what wasn't her business. She gets to the airport and it's not busy. She goes to check in. She realizes, oh crap, I lost my wallet. She doesn't have her ID, her credit cards, none of that. In her rush to get out of the hotel, she must have dropped her wallet. I remember her saying that she had grabbed a purse out of her closet that she hadn't used in a while. It was a smaller purse. Since it was a quick trip, she wanted something that could just be used to hold a couple of things so she could get in and out everywhere quickly and not have to dig around in a purse. More than likely, she wasn't used to carrying this purse and something happened and her wallet fell out. She remembers that she has that clear where they've already done the background check on you. You use your thumb or your finger or your face to go through the line. You don't have to pull out your ID or anything else. She gets in the clear line and she was able to get through the line into the gate. Of course, like everyone, we have Google Pay, Apple Pay, everything on our phone. So she's not really worried about her credit cards because she can still pay for things if she needs to. She knows, oh, I'm going to just fix everything when I get home. No big deal. In between this time, between losing her wallet at the front desk, going through the clear line, and getting on the plane, she gets a call from her doctor's office. A couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, had done an appointment with her physician, didn't really think anything of it, but she gets a call from her doctor's office saying, hey, listen, we need to do this medical test on you. Don't know if it's any big deal, but we need to go ahead and get you into this test. So we're going to make the appointment. They can see you on this day. And it was just a couple of days when she returned home. Now she needs to go in and get her license. She goes into her local DMV. This is a town that things are not busy. Not busy at all. Usually you can get in and out of the DMV. This day was a 2-hour and 45-minute wait. That's a crazy amount of waiting time for a DMV. Even I live in a large city, and that's a crazy amount of waiting time. A nice gentleman helps her out and says, in the town next to us, I can see they don't have a long wait, like 15 minutes. She's like, cool. You know what? No big deal. I'm going to go ahead and jet over there because that's the town I'm doing my medical testing in later today. Kill two birds with one stone. I'll head over there. She goes to the medical testing spot and she sees someone there that works there that she hasn't seen in 15 years. They catch up. And because she was there, just made my friend feel so at ease, so comfortable that really the testing is not that big of a deal. She just goes in, does it. As she's leaving, she tells the person that she hadn't seen in such a long time, it was so great seeing you. And thank you so much because you made me feel so comfortable. Heads out, goes to the DMV. This time it's about a 45-minute wait, but still way better than the 2-hour wait that was at her DMV. She gets up to the counter and talks to the lady, and the lady is so patient. My friend explains to her what happened, her losing her wallet. She was in a different state, a different town. The lady is just so kind and is like, great, we're going to help you through this. No problem. I will say I haven't had to go in and get my license in a long time. I can't even remember what you need when you go to do your license. I've just renewed mine online. I guess you need a second ID or some form of ID to show who you are. My friend is telling this lady at the DMV, I can show you stuff on my phone, but I don't physically have anything. She may have had her passport, but I think there was a second item needed, but she didn't have any credit cards. She didn't have her bank card. She's like, I don't have anything. I have my passport and that's it. Lady's like, hey, listen, don't you have your registration in your car? My friend's like, yeah, I do. She's like, run out and get it. I'm going to hold your place in line. Now, you and I both know when you go to the DMV, more than likely, if you have to leave that counter, you're going to have to wait back in line. That's just how it is. Like, bring all your stuff you need. We're busy. We don't have time to wait. Bring the stuff you need, or you got to go back in line. But this lady's like, No, I'll wait for you. I'll hold the space. Just run out there real quick, get your registration, and come back in. My friend's like, okay, great idea. I'm going to go do that. And she runs out, gets her registration. Now she has her passport, her registration. They're moving through this process seamlessly, right? My friend goes to pay. But remember, she doesn't have her credit cards, her bank card. And DMV is a little behind the times. They don't take Apple Pay. My friend's like, crap. I don't know what to do because this is all I have. So my friend calls her husband and is like, hey, at the DMV, this is what's going on. I need your credit card so I can pay for my license. The lady at the DMV is so kind. She's like, hey, do you want me to take the phone for you so he can give me the number so you don't have to repeat the number out loud? My friend's like, yeah, again, great idea. I don't know about you. I don't know that I've ever had someone this helpful at the DMV. No shade to the DMV, but I get it. You guys are busy. There's a lot of stuff going on and you probably have a quota to meet and you have to move the line through quickly. The lady at the DMV takes my friend's phone and types in the credit card number. Her and my friend's husband are chit-chatting back and forth. She tells my friend's husband, you have the nicest wife. She's so sweet and kind and just what a nice lady. Of course, he responds, yeah, I know that. She's my wife. She's the best. The DMV lady hands her phone back to my friend and they finish up. The DMV lady says, hey, listen, I want to give you something. Your husband was so nice and sweet on the phone. Give him this sucker. He's such a nice guy and you could tell he loves you so much. Give him the sucker. She's like, and I have something special for you. She pulls out of her drawer this little pink miniature tiny baby duck. The DMV lady says, and it's my favorite color. She said, I'm giving it to you because you're a lucky duck. What? A lucky. When do you ever go to the DMV and one, you get a sucker? That's usually at the bank, I think. And two, now she gets this little bitty pink duck and the lady tells her she's a lucky duck. My friend tells me, she's like, look, I'd been talking to God a lot since I had this call about this medical testing, about this medical scare. I've been talking to God a lot. She's like, in fact, I'd been talking to God a lot anyway. She said, I was in my car and I backed up and things were just playing in my head. I went the wrong way in the parking lot. She said that she turned the corner. There was this gentleman sitting in his truck, like a work truck, and he was just sitting in there. He looked up the same time she looked at him. Their eyes just met and like met. Stranger, eyes just met. She said his eyes were so kind and loving. She went on her way and just felt at peace. And at the beginning of this story, I told you she had a question about God. Her question was, with everything that happened that day, was that God? How do you know God is giving you breadcrumbs? When she asked me that question, I replied back with kind of a little story of how I knew when God gave me a specific breadcrumb. If I would have thought about it, I could have responded back with, well, on 10/29, when you sent me that text, that was my small breadcrumb that day. But I told her a different story. And then I ended that story with, yes, friend, that was God. That was God talking to you. It was God's way of saying, slow down. Look at all the things you've been doing. Sometimes God has to set us down, and to do that, it's a medical test. Sometimes God has to slow us down. This friend had been going 1,000,000 miles an hour. For a little bit, her mom had been sick and going through a lot of medical issues. She has a new business. She's married with 2 kids. Her kids are very active. She had been going and going and going. This time it was God saying, yo, I need you to stop. And God had probably been already trying to tell her beforehand, because in between all of this, her mom being sick, this other trip that she took, she had been to Dallas and we had sat down and had breakfast together. It was like a 6-hour breakfast that we had together, catching up on each other's lives. And I knew she was going through a lot. I knew her time was limited. I was so grateful that while she was in the DFW area, she called me and wanted to sit and spend time with me. I was so grateful for that. And then when all of this kind of happened, I had to look back at that and go, that time, that 6 hours, she could have spent just resting and relaxing. But instead, because I had disappeared from her life, because I had been going through things, she took time from herself to say, hey, let's meet up while I'm there. Let me check on you. She spent that quality time with me. She continued to keep going a million miles an hour after that time that I saw her. It took me a couple of days and I started to really think about the conversation she and I had about this story. Maybe I started to think about it, or maybe God put it on my heart again, because then I started dissecting everything in the story. I want to go through that. Some of this her and I did talk about, but a lot of it we didn't, because I didn't go deep into it until after I asked her if I could use this experience on this episode. And once she gave me the all clear, I dove head in with God, dissecting this whole entire conversation and everything that she had been through. Let's start with the all clear at the airport. She was at the counter, lost her license, but remembered she had the clear pass that would allow her to walk through security, use her face to be recognized so she could move through and go to her gate. That was God saying, you are safe to move forward. She was able to get home just fine. That was God's faithfulness saying, I've got you. You're protected. She gets home. Now let's go to the day she was going to her medical testing and the DMV. Her friend that she hadn't seen at the medical testing office, she hadn't seen for 15 years. And she felt comforted when she saw this person. That person gave her comfort in her time of need. That was divine companionship in a vulnerable moment. God provided emotional and spiritual support in that unexpected place. I know sometimes when I run into people and haven't seen them for 15 years, not all of them give me comfort. But in this moment, that person that she ran into was a person that she felt comfortable with in this vulnerable moment. And she let just her fears and being upset or scared just fall away to the wayside. Super nice lady at the DMV. Grace appearing in the mundane. The lady gave her a sucker for her husband. That was God's sweet acknowledgement of her husband's presence in her life. Her husband supporting everything. Her husband could have not answered the phone. Her husband could have been irritated, but no, he was kind and loving and sweet. That sucker was God's way of saying, I even see the ones that stand quietly beside you. They matter as well. Then the lady gave her lucky duck, her pink lucky duck. I live by Lake Carolyn. Every morning when I go to ground, there's always a plethora of ducks in the lake. I don't know if you guys know how ducks swim or float. It's like grace under pressure. They float calmly on the top of the water, but then underneath, their little duck feet are just going 90 to nothing. The duck was pink. Pink symbolizes compassion and divine love, God's favor and delight. God was telling her, you're blessed, you're grace under pressure, and I'm here with you. She leaves the DMV, goes the wrong way, and sees God's eyes in a stranger. She said this man's eyes were so compassionate and loving. That was just divine reassurance, presence of God. God reminding her, I see you. You are not alone. And then she said she felt peace. She felt peace because it's not the absence of chaos, it's the presence of God. Her months leading up to this medical testing, everything that happened on this specific trip, her mom had been sick. She was really putting in a lot of hours taking care of her. Her business, it's not new, but it's new. And she's really been putting in a lot of hours there. Again, husband, 2 kids. So she's trying to make time for everyone, including me when she came to town. When I look back at everything that happened and everything that she was going through, then I wanted to know, what was God telling her through this medical scare? Because God had to have been saying something, not only through the medical scare, but also through the strangers and events that came throughout this whole small time period. And it was really God saying, you're doing everything for everyone else, and you're disappearing in the process. She was going a mile a minute, making sure everyone was taken care of, everyone but herself. When we don't slow down, God sometimes comes to us with a holy interruption. And this is exactly what that was, a holy interruption. The medical scare that she had was a divine wake-up call. It wasn't a punishment. It wasn't God saying you're doing something wrong. It was a wake-up call. The medical scare wasn't random. It carried the energy of protective intervention. God stepping in saying, hey, daughter, stop for a minute. Look at your life. Look at what is going on with you, inside you. I need you to see you. I see you. I need you to see you. It wasn't about an illness, but awareness. If you look at the timing, the medical scare, the call came in the middle of chaos. Perfect time for reflection. Not only that, the call came right before getting on a plane. On a plane, there's nothing you can do. You just sit there and think, sit there and be. You can't get up and pace. You can't make 10 phone calls. You can only be. And that call could have came at any time, but it came right before she was boarding a plane. Every stressful moment was encountered by Grace, the friend at the testing office, the DMV lady, the stranger's eyes, the peace that came over her, the balance that shows God's hand guiding the entire process with gentleness, not fear. Then I think to myself, what was the message, God? What was the message that you had in all of this? Because with these people, with these events, with these things that happened, God gave messages to her. And one of the message was, slow down and look around you. Take care of you. The signs that she had, a friend, So she wasn't alone in a hard moment. The DMV lady, the lucky duck, having to sit there and really listen to this lady, have this lady help her, and then this lady giving her treats and trinkets when probably all she wanted to do was get home to her family and have a moment to herself, but she had to slow down. So this was grace and slowing down to receive kindness when she didn't even know kindness is what she needed. She needed someone to pay attention to her, not her pay attention to everyone else and everything that was going on. The meaning or the symbol in the God's eyes in a stranger, divine presence saying, I am here with you. You don't have to hold everything together. I have you. The peace, when she felt peace as she drove off, confirmed that she exhaled back into alignment with divine rhythm. She exhaled all of that stress, all of that worry, all of that fear. She exhaled it, gave it to God, and went right back in line with God. So God spiritually pressed pause on her life for a small moment, just that small time, not to stop what she was doing, not to stop her progress in life, but to save her from burnout. And she was going to go into burnout. God reminded her that rest and self-care is sacred too, without even knowing that God was reminding her of that. God pressed pause on everything that she was doing to go, take a minute. This was a deeper invitation. Self-care is spiritual obedience. Man, that is a lesson I had to learn, and it was hard. We think we are not allowed to have self-care. We think we are not allowed to rest. We think if we sit down and do nothing, that we are doing something wrong. I told someone the other day, when I stopped and felt peace, it was a feeling or something that was foreign to me. And I immediately started to go and create chaos because I am so used to chaos in my life. I thought feeling peace was wrong. I thought feeling peace meant I was doing something wrong. But we are supposed to be feeling peace in our life at all times. When we have chaos is when we need to be looking at ourselves saying, okay, stop. Something is not right. I have moved from peace to chaos. What happened in between that? Instead, we are living the opposite. We are living in chaos. And when we go into peace, we are saying, wait, something's wrong. I went from chaos to peace. No, friends, no, friends, no, friends. That is not how we are supposed to be living. God says we are supposed to be living in peace, not chaos. And if you are living in chaos, you need to look to God to see where your peace is. Why am I not living in peace? Why am I consistently living in chaos? What is happening? So for my friend, this was a deeper invitation for self-care as spiritual obedience. God was saying to her, you have been my hands. You have been my heart for others. Now let me be yours. Rest and replenishment are acts of faith. I know people sometimes say it's a person being lazy. No. Stop telling people that. You have no idea what that person is going through, what that person has been through, and why that person needs that rest and replenishment. When you rest and replenish, when you take time for yourself, this is you saying, God, I trust you. I trust that the world around me will not fall apart if I breathe, rest, and receive. That God, you have the world around me, and I can take this time for myself. My friend's medical scare wasn't a threat, but a whisper of love. It was God saying, I see how much you give. I don't want you to collapse from carrying too much. Slow down. I need you whole. I need you rested. I need you replenished. If you are not whole, rested, and replenished, you cannot be my hands. You cannot be my feet. You cannot help people in the way that I need. So I need you whole. I need you rested. This event that happened in my friend's life from start to finish showed disruption. The scare and the chaos broke her momentum. She no longer had the momentum just to keep pushing forward. She had to stop and take care of this. It showed the provision. God surrounded her with kind souls and safety nets. At every step of her way, God surrounded her with strangers, people she knew, to hold her hand through everything. This showed recognition. She began to notice the signs. That's why she texted and said, "Can I talk to you?" She felt peace. She felt calm, grounded, and seen. It's not a coincidence. It's God's choreography. It's God's way of turning exhaustion into awakening. It was God's way of saying, hey, I need you to stop and take care of you. The story doesn't stop there. On November 4th, I texted her, I'm thinking of you and I hope you are feeling okay. Her text back to me stated, no joke, I just hung up with the doc when you texted, all clear. I love that God is a funny God. I love that God likes jokes. And I love that God uses humor, even in moments of distress, to show us that we are okay. Everything is good. When she texted me back all clear, because that day I talked to her, she told me this story. I said to her, everything's fine. You are going to be fine. I knew it from the moment that she told me about the all clear line. I said to her, God told you everything's fine when you realized you had the all clear to go through that line. God was telling you all clear. And when I told her that, I even doubted myself. I doubted myself when I said it, but I knew it somewhere deep down inside me. I knew that God had orchestrated every single thing that happened, and I knew she was going to be just fine. And this medical scare was nothing. It was just a moment, just a pause, and everything was going to be good. And I didn't even know how I knew it. I just knew it. To go back and then look at the symbolic reasoning of that text that I sent her, just checking on her on November 4th, the exact time that I sent that text and she received it, she was speaking to the doctor's office, getting the confirmation that everything was clear. Her health was fine. That was divine timing and confirmation. It was sacred synchronicity, perfect aligned moment that confirms divine orchestration. It was God saying to me, not to her, to me, because I doubted myself when I said to her, everything is clear. God was showing you with the all clear line. It was God saying to me, yep, Carrie Jo, you heard me right. You were right. You heard me correctly. That was a divine confirmation that my message was divinely inspired. God gave me that message. I wasn't crazy for thinking it. That was a message to me saying, see, she's okay. You were right to trust me. You were right to trust yourself. You were right to trust your intuition, to tell her that I am here in the details. God told me that she was fine. My intuition told me that she was fine. And I was able to tell her that. And going forward, I'm going to keep listening to my intuition. My role was a messenger and a mirror. I wasn't just her friend comforting her. I was a spiritual mirror. I texted her the exact moment she heard that her health was clear. We were tuned in spiritually to one another and to God's rhythm. God was using our friendship as a channel of reassurance. The connection between this friend and myself was part of how divine messages are being delivered and received, human to human, heart to heart. When you get a tug to call someone, to text someone, to go by and see someone, that's just not like, meh, maybe I need to call this person. That's not nothing. That is divine intervention telling you, hey, check on this person. Hey, go by and see this person. That is your higher power, God, the Holy Spirit, your intuition saying, I need to do this. I, in this moment, became the living echo of God's voice saying, peace, it's done. She is safe. It wasn't anything special about me. I just was in tune with her and God. And God used my connection with her, my heart connection with her heart connection, to give her a message that she needed. This message could have come from anyone in her life. But currently, my friendship with this person is taking a different route. This person and I we used to get drunk and hang out and do stupid shit together. We are both coming into this spiritual maturity, and it's kind of like we're doing it together but separate. We are learning things from each other. And because we're so open to learning, we're so open and vulnerable with one another that God is using that vulnerability, our hearts being open, our hearts being connected. God is using that in times that He needs to give messages to each other. Just like when I was in doubt, she texted me with that message about the podcast episode was worth the wait. And then I'm telling her, you're all clear. Your health is fine. God was using that openness between us to communicate. How beautiful is that? When I told her that all clear. And when she got the all clear from her doctor, that all clear wasn't a medical statement. It was a spiritual declaration. It was far more than no more medical issues. It symbolized release. And it wasn't just her release. That release of a season of anxiety and fear, that was my release too. That was a message to me as well. You know, for her, we talked about her parent feeling better. Her business was going good. For me, it was the anxiety and release of my old life, of who I once was, that yes, these things that I'm feeling, these nudges that I'm getting, these experiences that I'm having, yes, they are from God. Yes, God is living from within me. I am that I am. Yes, I am co-creating with God. It symbolized a cleansing, clarity after confusion, physically, emotionally, spiritually, for her and for me. Restoration, confirmation that healing wasn't only in her body, but in her pace, her faith, her awareness. Restoration in me. That even though I carried that thought of who I was, and God, are you really using me? God, are you sure me? You are using me? God, are you, this is really happening, right? This is really happening, God. Like, I'm not crazy. I'm not making this up. God, you are really using me for your purpose. That restoration, that symbol, it was not only for her, but it was showing me my faith, my awareness, my intuition. This all clear was God's exhale. Full circle closure to what began as a whirlwind of chaos, lost items, divine nudges. This event that happened between my friend and myself, this was a circle of reassurance. Let me walk you through this, because I had to walk myself through it, because I was kind of in disbelief, kind of in awe. So the circle of reassurance, on October 29th, I questioned my path and received a divine message, a timed affirmation that, yeah, you're good. Everything's good. Keep moving forward. On 10/31, my friend reached out to me, and her story became the parable that I needed. On 11/4, the story completes itself with perfect timing. I sent reassurance just as she received the literal confirmation of peace and healing. This shows divine collaboration, how God used me and her for each other's reassurance. It's not one-sided. It was a sacred exchange. We both were breadcrumbs for each other. We both had messages for each other. It's proof that divine timing threads through relationships as much as it does through circumstance. We didn't even know at that time we were being each other's breadcrumbs, but we followed through. We followed through with the nudges. She followed through by texting me saying, this episode was worth waiting for. She then texted me later and said, hey, can you talk? I have a question about God. And instead of me being fearful of what I might not know, or what I might not feel, or what I might be wrong in, I said, yes, call me, and was excited. So my vibration lifted, my energy lifted. And with that, God was able to come through me to give her a message of yes. That whole day, I was speaking through strangers to you. Yes, friend, that was me. That was God telling you everything's okay. God used me to give this special message to this very special friend of mine. It's God saying, when you trust me, even the messages between you and the ones you love will align perfectly. I'm present in your timing, in your care, in your words. You are both walking in step with my peace. God saying, you're both walking with me. I got you both. The all clear wasn't just about my friend's journey. It was a divine punctuation mark at the end of a sacred story. God confirmed her healing, but God also confirmed my discernment, my faith, and our shared spiritual connection that we didn't even know we had. We had no clue we were on that same frequency, vibration, that our hearts were in tune with one another. Our hearts were in tune with one another and God at the same time, at the same moments. This wasn't coincidence. It was confirmation. It was divine timing and friendship. Spiritual affirmation of my insight, full circle peace and release from worry. Proof that God is always connected to our conversations, just like in the scripture when Eli confirmed for Hannah what she already knew. Heaven was whispering to both my friend and I, all clear in body, all clear in spirit, all clear in this season. God sent a deeper message through this whole entire story. God's message that he wants all of us to know, that he's trying to tell all of us with all the breadcrumbs that he sends our way. You don't have to walk alone. I will send you mirrors of my presence, people who will remind you of me when you forget. When one of you doubts, the other will speak faith. When one of you runs too fast, the other one will say, slow down, take a minute, rest. Together, you'll keep each other aligned with my peace. It's a two-way reassurance. That's why we have people in our lives. So someone's name pops into your head, or a song reminds you of a time you hung out with someone, go ahead and reach out. Sometimes that person needs you more than you think. And sometimes God is using you as his breadcrumb for that person. Thanks for joining me for Holy Chuckles Podcast, where we remember that God's calling doesn't always make sense, but it's always full of grace. If today's story reminded you that you too are seen, chosen, and loved right where you are, then that's the light shining. So until next time, keep your heart open, your laughter genuine, and your light shining.